Okay, welcome to question 4 of section 2, paper 2, methods 2009 exam. This is the last question on the paper, and hopefully you would have got here with plenty of time in hand. I'm sure we have. Anyways, on to the question. So, complex looking diagram, dubious story about adventurer, and so essentially the deal is that this vat at the bottom, this inverted triangle, is getting filled up with some acid, and also this statue is getting slowly lowered into the acid, essentially. Anyway, let's look at the question and then we can look more closely at what we have to do. So, this marble statue gets lowered slowly, and also the acid pours in at 9.4 meters cubed per hour. Vat starts empty. Okay, so this first part deals with the shape of our vat. It says show that H equals 2R. Okay, locate H and R on our diagram, and then what do? You go, alright, maybe we can draw some triangles to make life easy, hey? So, this is essentially what we have in part A. This is half our vat, okay? Now we know that we've got this much acid in it, or something like that, and this is H, that's R, okay? Now, what do you see about the shape of the vat? The shape is such that we are 8 meters high and 4 meters across. Right, drawn that in here. Great. So, remember that we've got some similar triangles happening, and I know that our diagram is grossly out of shape, out of proportion, but what's going on is, obviously, right, the ratios are going to be the same. So, 4 over 8, right, is going to be the same as R over H. So, when you come out again, when you sort that out, you'll get, naturally, H equals 2R. Ta-da! All very good. Okay, so that's part 1 of question 8. Easily solved. Similar triangles. Year 9. Part 2 says, find expression for the volume of acid in the vat at time t in terms of H. Okay, so maybe to start this, why don't you just find an expression for volume in the vat? Now this vat, it tells you that it is a cone. Inverted right circular cone. So you know that a volume for a cone, V equals 1/3 pi R squared H. Good? Yeah. Okay. Now, you know you can relate H and R, and they want this in terms of H. Now it says volume at time t. Where is t? This is confusing actually, but not. Ignore t, because you just want to find volume in terms of H at time t. Volume in the vat at time t is just the volume, and also t hasn't been mentioned yet. Be clever and ignore the t. 1/3 pi. Now R is what? H on 2, isn't it? H on 2 squared times H, which is, simplify all this out, you're going to get 1 on 12 pi H cubed. Is that what we wanted? Expression for volume of acid in the vat at time t in terms of H. Yes, that's exactly what we wanted. Related volume and height. Great. Okay, so now we can reward ourselves by going on to part B. B asks you to find dH to T. B. So, you want to know about dH to T. So you're thinking, okay, dH dt, what do we know so far? Go back to the question. Okay, so you want dH dt, right? Sorry. It's going to equal stuff. Go back to the question and see what we've been given. Oh, look. We know how much acid is being poured in per hour. There's a rate, right? What's that? dV dt, isn't it? Volume of acid against time. Write that down. We've got dV dt, and if you want to multiply with that with something to get dH dt, obviously you're going to need what? dH dV. Great. dV dt we have. dH dV, oh look. dH dV comes from the last question, right? The last question where you found V in terms of H. So, remembering here that V equals 1 on 12 pi H cubed, you can say that dH dV, dV dH, you can find yourself dV dH as 1/4 pi H squared, right? But you're after dH dV. dH dV, just flip the thing upside down. So that's pi H squared over 4, right? So now you have 4 over pi H squared. Done. So you come back here and you say, good, dV dt is, check that rate again, 9 pi on 4. 9 pi on 4 times dH dV, 4 on pi H squared. Oh, look. Pi's cancel, 4's cancel, you get 9 on H squared. How very, very pleasant. There it is, part B, out of the way. Part C says, find a few things in exact values. By the way, you should always use exact values unless they tell you otherwise. Be clever. So, you want to know the rate at which the height of the acid is increasing when the height is 2. So, you want to find dH dt at H equals 2. Not very hard. You've got dH dt up there as a function of H, right? So you go, great. So you say at dH dt equals, at H equals 2, dH dt equals, what, 9 on 2 squared? 9 on 4. There. Part 2. See, part 2 says, find the height of the acid when it is increasing at half the rate found in C part 1. So you want to find, what do you want to find? You want to find H at dH dt equals half of 9 on 4. Half of 9 on 4 is 9 on 8. Right? Great. Again, you can go back to you want to find height when we're increasing at 9 on 8. Okay. So you go, okay, fine. Again, you know the equation of dH dt, right? dH dt is 9 on H squared. So you just go, great. 9 on 8 equals 9 on H squared. Oh, look. H squared equals 8. h equals 2 root 2. Don't consider the negative solution because we're dealing with a real life problem. 2 root 2 what? Meters. Is that what the question's asked? Yes. The height of the acid. You need to give the unit. 2 root 2 meters is just good. Okay. On to part D. What does it say? It goes, find expression for dt dh in terms of h. Not hard, right? Not hard. So, d, you know that dh dt is 9 on h squared. dt dh is h squared on 9. Nice and easy. That's just part 1 though. Part 2, oh sorry, I've covered the screen the whole time. So that's what I've been writing. I'll use the smaller font too. So part 2, find the expression for the height of the acid in terms of T. Great. Not difficult. So obviously you want to integrate this, and then you'd want to shift it around so that you get h as a function of T. Let's do it. So if the TDH is h squared on 9, T is going to be, integrate that, you get 1 on 27 h cubed, plus C. Don't forget plus C. Okay. Let's look for some initial conditions. You'll see in this question, when you read through the text and look for initial condition, you'll see that the vat is initially empty. What does that mean? Meaning that at T equals 0, H equals 0. Right? So, therefore, C equals 0, right? If all of these are 0, then C had to be 0 too. So, we can safely say that T equals 1 on 27 H cubed. There. We're not finished though. They want H in terms of T. So we move back and we say great, H cubed is 27T, and thus H equals 3 times T to the power of a third, or 3 times the cube root of T. And that's it. Nice. Okay, coming back to our question, part E. Part E. We're almost done with this exam. So close, so close. E. Part 1. Write an expression for the distance of the base of the statue above ground level T hours after 9 AM. Okay, so up to now we haven't talked about this statue that's coming down. So a smart thing to do would be to have a look at what's going on with this statue. Notice that initially in the diagram, the initial position is right up the top. Notice that initially the statue is 6 meters above the top of the vat. The vat is 8 meters deep. So you get at T equals 0, H is 14. Yeah? T equals 0, H is 14. Okay? And then it goes down at 1 meter per hour. Yeah? 1 meter per hour. Okay. So that's not very hard. So you can probably say that H, let's do H of S, height of the statue, is, well, you've got, it's decreasing by 1 every time T increases by 1. So you've got something minus T, right? And it has to be 14 minus T because at T equals 0, you start out with a height of 14. Does that make sense? It does, doesn't it? That you know, you start out at 14, so at T equals 0, It's 14. This is a linear function as well. It goes down at a constant rate every hour. And the rate going down is 1. So HS of t is 14 minus t. Now to the very final question. You must be relieved. There. At what time would the statue first touch the acid? Okay, so basically this is the part that you put everything together. So I've said, remember that in previous questions we've had h equals 3 times t to the power of a third. That's the height of the acid. Height of the statue is 14 minus t. So what do? Equate them together. Right? You want the statue to meet the acid. 3 t to the power of a third equals 14 minus t. I meant to use black. And so yeah, you equate h with hs. There you go. Solve that. Your calculator would tell you that t equals 8 is a solution. Is that the final answer? Of course not. Remember how t is defined. T hours after 9 a.m. T means number of hours after 9 a.m. And then, in this question, we say at what time. They want to see a time. So, T is 8 hours after 9 a.m. Therefore, at what time does the statue touch? Statue touches acid at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Oh, sorry, that was really badly written. Try that again. My pen's not happy. Statue touches acid at 5 p.m. even if the screen doesn't show it nicely. There it is. The answer to the last question. Hope you've enjoyed this exam, and I hope you've been able to learn something out of it. Yeah. Hope you have fun on your final exams, and don't stress too much if this all went very quickly. You'll have plenty more time in the exam than the time I've given. So thanks everyone for listening. Wish you all the best for your exam. See ya.